Hello and welcome to today's episode of Proven, where we have the opportunity to sit down with iconic individuals and to have a candid conversation about how they really got to where they are. I am so excited about today's guest. This is actually one of my sons. I feel like I raised him, and so I think I can take a little credit for a little bit of his success. I'll see if he'll give me a little bit of a shout out, but I'm telling you, I want you to fasten your seatbelt, sit back, and just really receive, because I believe that if you will apply the principles that you hear these incredible masters give you, that you too can be proven. So Johnny, thank you so much for taking the time to come and sit with me.
Mom.
I know, I love you and your
I love
family
you too.
with
Thank
the
you
love
so
of
much.
the Lord. And I tell you what, I have seen you just evolve. And I'm gonna let you just jump right in, because I remember literally when you were transforming your life and what that involved.
Yeah.
And I have just seen you blossom and progress and just turn into this iconic young man who shares the platform and the stage and the media,
Absolutely.
With the Zig Ziglars and the Les Browns of life.
Yes.
And I couldn't be prouder. So every time I
Thank
see you, I'm
you.
like, that's my boy right there. But I'm telling you what, I just want you to kind of jump in, because my whole intent today is to help people to set aside the excuses, have them to stop justifying where they are, and get about the business and the purpose that they're called to. And I think you're a great example of
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's always an honor and a pleasure. You are Mom. You could definitely take credit. You could take credit for a lot of the things in my life. As a matter of fact, before this interview is over, I want your favorite Johnny story. And the reason I want that is because you have known me for decades. You've seen me, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I have. Yeah.
And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Wow. I think Proven is an incredible foundational word for all of our lives, especially if you want to help other individuals. And I think that, where we are in life right now, what helps me out, what is empowering me, is I really feel that we are finally getting to the point where people want to hear from real people who have really been through some things. They really have gone through it, and they really made it to the other side, and they really have a heart and a passion to help other people as well. And you're one of those individuals. You're you're a proven, documented success story. And sometimes, unfortunately, success is determined by what we go through and how we get out of it.
Absolutely.
So congratulations.
Yeah.
But
well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
So thank you. So before I was in your hands, there was a lot of backstory. Before we met. From
I have
the
a
hood
book
to doing
here.
good.
You
So
see that?
yeah, and it's amazing, because what got me to you wasn't you. It was Crystal.
Yeah.
And what got me to you, and you guys are the reason I stayed, but she was the attraction. I was following the girl. Want to be around hot chicks, and you guys.
And she was a good little church girl.
Good little
so
church
he just
girl.
followed her right on to church. Okay.
Followed her to church, and they ended up helping me out in a lot of different ways, not just spiritually, but even emotionally, even as a man, as someone who would eventually become a husband and become a father. You guys really were an incredible, solid foundation. And when I say you guys, just the leadership that you exposed me to, and forced me to be accountable to.
I was going to mention that. I was going to say, there was that accountability factor. And if there's any story that I recall, it's that you were kind of rigid against authority, but you learned to comply.
Yeah.
And once you did, I think seeing you evolve as a young man was just so powerful. And I think that's why I take now such great joy in seeing what's next for you, because I think we had a lot to do with the fact that, this is
100%.
a young man that now honors authority.
Yeah.
And as you comply to that authority that you're introduced to, and you take on the principles and apply them, I mean, the sky is the limit for you.
And I think a real mentor is someone who, they're not just mentoring you because it's a job, they're mentoring you because they really have, a passion for your end result. And you could feel the difference between someone who's just coaching you and barking orders at you than someone who's coaching you and giving you orders because they really have a heart and a passion for your end result. And there's no question you guys had that. So the story before I got to you, when I say I got to you, before I got, we're dating back to 1997 probably, maybe even 96. No. we were still in high school, I believe.
Yeah, I think you were.
94-ish. She was in college or just going into college. Well, before I got to you, my earliest memory in life was living in a battered women's shelter. My father was an abusive alcoholic, and we lived in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm biracial. My mother's white, my father's black. And to give you a visual, because if you don't get the visual, you kind of miss, the substance of what we were in. If you want to characterize my father, the character from Pulp Fiction. Have you ever seen the movie Pulp Fiction with Samuel Jackson and John Travolta? Well, Pulp Fiction character, Samuel L. Jackson, in that movie, that will be my father.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not exaggerating. Like, I've seen my father successfully have conversations with a gun in his hand, and it was normal. It was just a normal conversation. And when I say successful, because whoever he was talking to,
they were listening,
it had to be successful on his part, because, but that's just kind of how I was, what I was exposed to. So my mother, I'm the youngest of three boys. We would go to San Jose, California. The government sent us there for protection. Obviously, white lady claiming to be, assaulted or abused by her husband. Boom, let's get her out of here. Let's get her safe and her kids safe. So they shipped us to San Jose, California. We lived in a battered women's shelter. And the reason I say ship is because, we're a Greyhound bus, one set of clothes. And they sent us there for
One-way
protection.
ticket, nowhere.
Yeah. So I started elementary school in San Jose, California. I did first grade here because we would come back. So we would come back and I would really meet my father for the first time. My father would have us and my two older brothers. My mother stayed with her parents. And for the first time, we really had stability. So we were with my father, and I remember feeling, the love of a man. And for some reason, I never equated who he was as a husband. I only equated who he was as a father. So, and the story is, for me is, bad husband doesn't mean bad father. And he was a great father, very hard, very stern. As a matter of fact, at our wedding, you adjusted my father's corsage. I don't know if you remember this.
I don't even remember that.
Flower. And I remember my boys came to me and my homies from the hood. Johnny, you got to go get your daddy. Like, what happened? He just told Pastor Renee that don't nobody fix nothing on me. My mama's dead. Don't nobody fix.
I don't even remember that. Look, I probably ignored him. Okay.
I know. And that's the thing. If you ignore him and just smile, he's good. But that was my dad, Wow. And then ultimately, my mother picked us up every weekend. We're having fun. She picks us up one weekend, says we're going back to California. So this time, she really steals us from our father. And there was no reason for this move, other than the fact that's what she wanted to do. And as kids, we're excited, road trip. We really don't understand what's going on. So I start the second grade in San Jose, California. I failed the second grade. My brother Larry fails the fourth grade. Willie passes into the third grade. Just a smart kid, never got in trouble. So long story short, right after that, I remember the end of my second grade year, my mother saying, "I'm sending you back to Texas." There's only one word I heard. Send. I didn't hear anything else. What do you mean send? I've never been without you. Send.
Wow.
So my father and his friends rounded up some money to fly us back. So we're flying back. And I remember at the airport, second grade, end of the year, and I remember us finally getting on the airplane, and I just jumped off the plane and I ran down the stairs and I ran down to where my mother was on the runway. And I said, "Mommy, please don't make me go," as if I did something wrong. I didn't understand. And then she said, "I'll be there in 2 weeks. It's okay." I turn around. My brothers are encouraging me to get back on the plane. So came back, with my father again. Things are stable again. Very hard worker, trash man. Drove trucks. Had side hustles. So he always was a very hard working man.
Right.
And I remember saying to my father, "My mom's going to be here in 2 weeks." And the next week, "My mom's going to be here in a week." "Oh, my mom's coming any day now," the week after that. And, a month would go by. And I'm like, "Where's mommy?" Wow. And,
that's devastating for a young man.
Oh, man, it was flooring. And it's amazing the stories that I would begin to tell myself for comfort. 6 months, well, my mom must be dead. Wow. She has to be.
So you hadn't heard from her during this time that you were aware of?
I have memories of months. Sometimes I feel like it was over a year. I'm not sure, but I feel like there were times where I wouldn't hear from her for so long. In my mind, it was a year. So I would start telling myself stories. She's no longer alive. And that was kind of a coping mechanism for me to deal with it. I remember, crying myself to sleep in the closet where nobody could find me. And, 3 years later, she finally shows up. And
so here you are in this new environment with your dad, and you've created these stories. So she shows up. I can imagine that there were a host of emotions as you went through when you finally see her. Like, you know what, this has been a long 2 weeks, and of course by now, you're a little bit older, and you're able to kind of, critically think through some things a little bit more.
at this time,
I'm
I'm going into the fifth grade. I remember this like it was yesterday. Going into the fifth grade, I believe the summer had just started. And this is not it's a good and bad story.
Okay, well, no, we want to talk about the good and the bad, okay?
Well, the good is my mother shows up with her new husband, and we knew she was coming, but we heard it before.
Okay.
So we really I didn't put any value into the fact that she was coming this time, just in case, protecting myself. And she shows up, she pulls on the street, and my brother says, "Let's go, mommy's here." Well, I'm at my homeboy's birthday party. I'm going into the fifth grade.
This is disruptive
During
to
the
your
day.
life, okay?
No, listen, like I'm going into the fifth grade. And I remember I was getting high. I was smoking weed. So I was that young, smoking weed. And I was a little embarrassed because I'm like, man, I hope my mom doesn't smell this on me. She hadn't seen me in so many years. And it's amazing all those thoughts are going through my head at that age. And immediately when I touched her, all was forgiven.
Wow.
I literally hugged her as if she never left. So that was the Johnny that you were getting. That was, the Johnny that would end up, going on to, selling drugs when I was 14, 15 years old. I'm still staying with my father. My oldest brother, Larry, went to go live with my mother when she came back that time. My brother today is serving 40 years in prison.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I'm not any better than him. I just didn't get caught. My brother, Willie, really pretty much never got in trouble. He was just he was a 13th disciple. That's what I call him. He's a 13th disciple.
He's a great guy. And
you know him.
He's a great law-abiding citizen. He really is.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I would rather, you tell the police on me before you tell my brother Willie on me. Like that was a level of respect that I've always had for him. Even though we're 11 months apart, we grew up like we were twins, but I've always looked at him in that regard to where I would be embarrassed if he knew what I was doing. Selling drugs at 14, 15 years old, have people selling drugs for me at 17. I only knew what I knew. I knew I was a hustler. I knew I loved entrepreneurialism. I knew I wanted to make residual income, but that's all I knew. I only knew that world. And so graduated high school, ended up getting a felony arrest, couldn't get a real job because I got a felony arrest as a teenager. And February of 1993, I got a phone call during the Super Bowl. And the phone call was, "Hey, Mookie's dead. Red killed him." So I'm fuming because Mookie's my homeboy, and I know Red. We all grew up together. So the night of the wake, we're going to plan a retaliation. And this is the moment. The night of the wake. The night of the wake, we go to pay respect to my homeboy. And I don't know if they set this up or not, but his mother stood in front of the casket, and they made sure that we were there. She stood in front of the casket, and she said, "I forgive the young man who killed my son." Now, I don't know this level of forgiveness. I know how to forgive my mom who left me for 3 years. I know how to forgive my father. I don't know this level of forgiveness. And Pastor Renee, without question, I had the most mature moment of my life at that moment. I was listening to what she said. And for some reason, a voice said to me, and I give it credit to the Holy Spirit, "I don't love him the way his mother loves him."
Wow.
So who am I to get revenge? In my mind, I would be disrespecting his mother. To get revenge on behalf of her son. Now I'm 18 years old. I'm a year behind, so I'm 18, junior in high school, having that moment. And that day I gave my gun to a preacher. I walked outside. I said, "Can you meet me outside?" And we're in a church.
Yeah, and I think we actually met you right after that.
It was right after.
Right after that, because I was so impacted by the fact that these young men, this was the story we got, and we had some leadership that was represented at that homegoing celebration, and they laid their guns down.
Yeah.
They turned them over. And so that was that defining moment in your life.
And the next day I would meet Crystal at the funeral. She would be at the funeral. And it was at Regina and Jack Crane's house, who's in Arlington. I think Crystal was I don't know how she got connected in this circle. Maybe it was Cornerstone with Pastor McKenzie, but I didn't know any of them. I don't know how they knew Mookie. I didn't know. But I would meet her back at the house after the funeral. She was at the funeral, and then we started dating, which would ultimately lead me to you.
Yeah.
And that was the Johnny you were getting. Like you were getting that package and not really knowing the whole story. You get packages of individuals all the time. You don't know their background. You know the whole story. But that's where I was coming from, and that's why I was so hungry.
Yeah.
I was so hungry
And you could tell
for
that.
leadership.
Because I remember you almost being like a lump of coal, and just being able to help to bring forth that true diamond that you really were all the time.
Thank you.
Because I just have a different perspective. Being a community leader for the years that I have, I'm like, you know what? We have some of the best entrepreneurs and business people that are out on the streets. They know what they're doing, and so we weren't afraid of that. That's probably why I wasn't afraid of dealing with your dad, and don't even recall that situation. Because at the end of the day, you know what? We need to show love. We need to show care and concern toward others. And so just to wrap my arms around you all and nurture you, and just to see where you are today, it's just so profound. And so those stories didn't scare me. Even when I heard them, I was like, oh, he's one of the ones the lady's gunned down. Okay, well, just make sure he don't have one today, and then we all right, okay? All right. So, but the thing is that I love the fact that you took these experiences and you didn't allow them to stifle you or to stop you. Like you said, you were so hungry for more. And I really recall seeing you becoming a learner of wisdom and knowledge. And so you absorbed everything. I
was hungry. I would, Crystal would get mad at me because when we first got married, we would be the first people on the lot waiting for the door to open.
Wow.
And that's without exaggeration. Wow. Like I was there before your leaders of leaders were there. Wow. And we were just waiting for the first person to pull up. It was just a different kind of hunger, a different kind of, I knew where I wanted to go, and I knew I couldn't get there by myself. So in my mind, if I wanted to fast forward it, I need to be the first one there and the last person to leave.
Right.
And I just want to be around as much as possible. I didn't care if you knew me. I didn't care if you recognized me. If you think about me back in those days, I really didn't care if you ever said one word to me. Just let me be close.
Wow.
Just let me be close.
Sometimes you can just catch the spirit of a person by just being in that environment.
The level of accountability that you all put on me, like I felt like I was being watched even when you weren't there, and there was a level of integrity inside me that said, I can't let you down.
Wow.
So I'm not saying I made all great decisions. There's been a lot of flaws, a lot of bad decisions, but I can say this, the foundation of my success today comes from the foundation that you guys imparted into me back in those days, in the late 90s. And, here I am today, my voice is being heard around the world. 72 hours ago, I was with Steve Harvey in the youth camp, drilling with his kids.
You were dealing with those boys now. I'm telling you, I like that, but you were coming
That's how y'all taught me.
Well, yeah.
It's like there's no fluff. I'm not here to, I'll cut you up on this side and sew you up on that one.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some
cutting.
cutting.
But you know what? That's what they need. And they need to know that somebody loves them and cares enough about them. And so I just saw a small clip of that. Now, you've been doing this now and working with Steve for a number of years.
This has been 3 years in the camp. I've been on his show a couple times. There's no relation to that, actually. Me being on his television show and me being in his camp, there is absolutely no relation at all. They came from different worlds. But, now today, fast forward, best-selling author, motivational speaker, television personality, even working on my own show right now. And it really all goes back, when I changed my life around, when I gave my life to Christ, I didn't lose my fight. Like I didn't become a spiritual punk.
Right.
And
And so many people do that, though.
It's
we need to talk about that, because some people they lose their passion, they lose their drive, and I'm like, no, you just switched teams, and now you still need to have
still got
that,
the same
we're
fight.
Still building, we're still
got the same drive.
Needing to be effective and still needing to produce. Right.
The grind was the same, the energy was the same, and the number one reason that people are not successful in what they want, and this is proven. The only reason that most people are not successful is because they're afraid of taking risk. Well, I'm a walking, talking risk. I was on the streets doing things I had no business doing.
Taking risk every day, literally, for your life.
Any moment.
Yeah.
Dead, prison, robbed, any moment. So I didn't have that scared of risk factor. I was a walking, talking risk. So 100% of every shot that's never taken never goes in. That's what Wayne Gretzky said. So you got to shoot a shot to make a basket. I've never been afraid to shoot. I've never been afraid to, look like a fool. I've never been afraid, to take that step. It's because of where I come from and what I've done. So if you master the art of taking risk,
wow, that's good.
it's proven.
That's good.
You master the art of taking risk. There's no way you won't hit a home run at some point, but most people don't take that risk. And if you're watching this right now, and this goes for all of us, if I was talking to the 9-month-old you, the 9-month-old little Renee, the 9-month-old little Johnny, right? That 9-month-old me didn't care who was watching when I was trying to, when I was taking that first step. I was taking that first step. Like I would hold the coffee table, I would fall down. All of my kids went through the same process. They grab your leg, they grab a chair and they get up and their legs start wobbling, their big old head starts moving and they fall to the ground. And with this big old annoying smile, they look up and they pull themselves up and they do it again and again and again.
Until they get it right.
The 9-month-old us would be so disappointed. It's like, why are you
taking risk?
Why do you care? You never care. You didn't ask for permission to learn how to walk. You didn't need a coaching session to learn how to talk. You just said simple. Listen, if daddy can do it, me too. If mommy can do it, me too. We lost that me too. That me too attitude that basically says, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. And the bottom line is, you want proven, documented success strategies. You've got to get back to the 9-month-old you and take a step and don't care who's watching.
Wow. So the 9-month-old Johnny, who still is wrapped up in this man's body now.
It's all in here.
Every single day is now taking risks, and you are reaping great reward and great benefit for it. Give us the driving passion. I heard you say it earlier, but I know it's all about helping people, but when you take that risk, it's not all about you. And sometimes people misinterpret that. You're like, you're living large, you're living big, but at the core of our being, it's really all about what for you?
My why, my WHY, my why. If you don't have a why, if your WHY is not solid and defined, you'll give up, because your why puts you in a position like a palm tree. It's so rooted that a hurricane can come. It may bend you over, but right before you snap, you're going to come back up. And when that storm's over, you're still going to be standing. You won't stand if you don't have a why. My WHY. My why is almost comical when I think about it today. My why was I refused to allow my kids' first memory in life be a struggle. My first memory in life was in a battered women's shelter. I walk up to a refrigerator door, I open the refrigerator door, I reach in for some milk, and I hear someone say no. It's my first memory in life. I'm like, and that's how I found out it wasn't my milk. It belonged to another family who lived in this house, which was a shelter.
Wow.
So I have always purposed in my heart, my children's first memory will not be a struggle. I accidentally became a millionaire because I refused to allow my kids' first memory be a struggle. I had that mindset.
That is so good.
That mindset was there before I had kids. When I was with you, when I was 3, 24, I didn't have kids in those days. But if you would have asked me, Johnny, what's your driving force? The answer would have been the same. I refuse to allow my kids' first memory be a struggle.
Oh my God. That is so profound, because I think so often people misjudge those that have abundance and have wealth without recognizing that God wants us to have that abundance so that we can be more of a blessing. And they also many times don't really know the behind the scenes story. That image that you just painted in my mind, I can see it. That wasn't my experience, but I can see it for you. And so I have that much more respect for you, because you have made that happen with your children. Your children are blessed. They are hilarious. They are funny. And he's training them right now to be entrepreneurs the right way. He's training them right now to take that risk and to take that leap every single day.
And they know they have to.
Oh my
They know
God.
they have to, because they broke.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? Wait a minute now. One of them making a little money. I saw her
Oh,
open her check the other day.
Both of my daughters, they just booked jobs.
They're modeling now or acting?
They're acting. Got two national commercials, which is a big deal.
Oh,
so they got
great.
checks coming in the mail, which I'm proud of them. They're great. I still monitor the money, and I'm watching what they do.
Oh, absolutely.
But they know. They know. They gotta carve their niche. They gotta, and if they can come to me and pitch anything to me at any time as an investor, I'm always going to listen. But it's got to be good. It's got to be good. So,
oh my goodness.
and it really goes like if you don't have a foundation, you'll never be proven. Your foundation is what gives you proof that you have something to fight for. And if you're not willing to die for your why, it's not big enough.
Wow.
There's no number. My why could never be attached to a number. It's not millions. It's not a house. You know, those are things that I'm going to get that proves that I'm on my way. But it never, ever will determine who I am. What determines who I am is my why, my WHY, because you can rip me and strip me for everything that I have. But because I've emptied my wallet into my head, you can take my bank account, you can take anything. As long as the real value is here.
Come on now. Look,
I can get it again.
You can
and
do
again
it
and again.
again. Oh my God. You know what? Well, that's a good note to end on. And we definitely would have to continue this
Absolutely.
conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Johnny. I mean, again, I'm proud, and you're right. That foundation is so key. I have seen you live this, and you ended on a really great note. Even if you lose it, you can always get it again, but you have to have the foundational principles. You have to receive the wisdom and the insight. You have to be in the right environment. And most importantly, you have to awaken every single day saying, you know what, I'm willing to take the risk.
Absolutely.
And you are certainly living that. And
Thank
so
you.
here we go again, iconically giving him a check mark. This young man is proven. So we thank you so much for
by the
being
grace of
here.
God.
And I believe that if you too will follow the principles that you've heard here today, that you too will become proven. It's up to you. What will you do? Johnny's laid it out. He showed us that you can take that one image from your past that may not be so great and live by it every day to make certain that you are moving forward and propelling to the great purpose that awaits you. So get up. You can be proven too. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.